Everyone talks about moving abroad like it's a dream, and for many it is. But after the passport stamps, the highlight reels, and the first few months of freedom comes the part no one posts about. You will lose and find yourself at the same time. You will question your decisions, and you will redefine success in ways you never saw coming. Today we're talking about the real experience of life abroad, not the curated version, the transformational one. Hi, I'm Rewire, executive coach and executive recruiter for purpose-driven leaders. This episode is part 2 of our Moving Abroad series, and it unpacks 4 things no one tells you about moving abroad. I'm going to break down how purpose-driven professionals can navigate it with clarity and intention. We'll ground this in both lived experience and the data, because global freedom isn't just a fantasy, it's a path, and it's one you can walk if you know what's ahead. Number 1, you will lose and find yourself at the same time. Relocating abroad is more than just a lifestyle change, it's an identity shift. When you leave your home country, you leave behind not just a place, but a set of norms that once defined you. Your accent, your resume, your college affiliation, your neighborhood, all of it becomes background noise. Abroad, you start from zero, and that's equal parts freeing and disorienting. A 2020 study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that living abroad significantly increases your self-concept clarity, the extent to which someone has a clear and stable sense of who they are. Why? Because being removed from familiar cultural cues forces people to examine which parts of their identity are internal versus inherited. But that clarity doesn't come quickly. It comes with grief. You may miss things you never thought you'd care about. The sound of your native language in the grocery store, the small talk with your old barber, the local sports team everyone rallied behind, even the specific kind of peanut butter you can't find anymore. According to a 2022 Internation survey, nearly 30% of expats say they struggle with feelings of isolation in their first year. Number 2, many expats move back, but not because they've failed. There is a persistent myth that most people who return home after living abroad do so because life overseas didn't work out. But that's not true. In fact, a 2023 Move Hub study found that 32% of American expats moved back to the US within 5 years. But the top reasons aren't dissatisfaction, they're family obligations, aging parents, raising children, healthcare access, or job opportunities that require relocation. Only about 14% cite difficulty adjusting or not liking the new culture as the reason for their return. What's more, many who return experience what psychologists call reverse culture shock, a sense of dislocation and alienation when re-entering your own culture. You've changed, the environment hasn't, and reintegration can be surprisingly hard. According to Forbes, reverse culture shock is one of the most overlooked aspects of global mobility, often resulting in career dissatisfaction, social withdrawal, and a desire to re-immigrate. So here's the nuance. Returning home isn't failure, and staying abroad isn't a badge of honor. It's not about geography, it's about alignment. Taking the sovereign path in your career isn't about running away, it's about choosing where and how you live, fully aware of the trade-offs. Number 3, most people abroad are not digital nomads, they're remote workers with global companies. Thanks to social media, many people believe living abroad means sipping cocktails by the beach while managing a crypto portfolio. But the real story is more grounded and in some ways more attainable. According to the 2023 MBO Partners State of Independence Report, the number of U.S. digital nomads rose to 17.3 million, but only about 30% of those nomads are actually self-employed. The majority work full-time for companies that allow remote work or flexible geographic policies. And it's not just tech startups and solo entrepreneurs. Increasingly, remote-first or global hybrid roles are being offered in ESG and sustainability consulting, higher education and international schools, public health and international NGOs, marketing, finance, and digital strategy. Also, DEI, talent, and executive coaching are all becoming these amazing opportunities on a global scale. The Harvard Business Review notes that the fastest growing expat population is professionals working remotely for U.S. companies while living in a lower cost, higher quality of life country. So you don't have to build a brand or freelance to make this work. You need to understand the portable value of your leadership and position yourself accordingly. For Black professionals in particular, this opens up many new possibilities. Abroad, we often experience freedom not only from work stress, but from the daily microaggressions and systemic inequities that accompany life in the U.S. workplace. That doesn't mean you won't face bias overseas, but it's often of a different nature. And for many, the emotional labor is significantly reduced. Number 4, your definition of success will be challenged and possibly rewritten. Here's one of the most profound truths I've learned abroad. Living outside the U.S. doesn't just change your location, it changes your relationship to ambition. Success in American culture is built around urgency, visibility, and output. How much are you doing? How fast are you growing? Who knows your name? But abroad, particularly in countries with stronger social safety nets and a different pace of life, success becomes quieter. Time becomes more valuable than title. Peace outweighs prestige. The OECD Better Life Index consistently shows that countries like Portugal, the Netherlands, and Denmark report higher life satisfaction and better work-life balance than the US, even with lower than average incomes. In Portugal, for example, the average work week is 35 to 40 hours, not 50 plus. Paid vacation is 22 business days, plus public holidays. Universal health care is standard, not a luxury. As a result, people have more space to parent, to partner, to create, to rest. For US-born professionals, especially high-achieving ones, this can trigger an identity crisis. If I'm not hustling, am I still successful? If I'm not chasing, am I falling behind? But that's when the shift happens. You realize that your worth was never in your grind, that your impact isn't measured by how exhausted you are, and that maybe, just maybe, success has been misdefined all along. Life abroad isn't a fantasy. It's a path, a sovereign one. It's not perfect, it's not always easy, and it's not for everyone, but it is real. And for many purpose-driven professionals, especially those who've carried more than their fair share of a burden back home, it can be a life-giving reset. You won't become someone new, you'll become more fully yourself. So if you felt the tug, if you've imagined living somewhere slower, safer, freer, listen to that whisper. The sovereign path doesn't begin when you book a flight. It begins when you give yourself permission to want more, to want differently, to want better. And if you need someone to walk with you on that journey, I'm here. Subscribe to this channel, share this episode with someone who's thinking about their next chapter. And if you're ready to explore what a career and a life abroad could look like, the sovereign path was created just for you. I'm Rory Verrett. I'll see you next week on the Protégé Leadership Academy.